The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. A rustle of leaves from a nearby bush snagged Gold's attention, and he looked up sharply as if startled out of a dream. Flying pieces of green foliage drifted like snow above the stump of the bush. Through the whirl of leaves, Gold could just make out two grayish-brown figures. They were low to the ground and flailing wildly while making harsh, honking cries. As soon as they stopped thrashing, Gold saw that they were both duck-like Pokemon, each with a stick tucked under its wing.
Good work, Farfetch'd!
Someone called from behind them. Through the thicket, a young man appeared, looking barely older than Gold. He was dressed plainly, and his clothes were soaked through with sweat. The newcomer panted heavily as he stepped over the stump and between the two duck Pokemon. With a sudden feeling that he had missed something, Gold turned to look back at the water, on whose surface the mysterious creature had been standing. It had vanished, gone as completely as if it had never been there at all. Gold slumped with disappointment.
It was so beautiful,
Marina whispered, so softly that he almost didn't catch it.
Hello?
Spoke the forest boy, lifting his hand in greeting.
Hello?
Gold swallowed his disappointment and looked back at the newcomer. Hi, he said half-heartedly, not yet able to muster proper enthusiasm. He amended his tone. Were you drawn to it as well? Did you see it?
Did I see it?
The fellow asked, looking thoroughly confused. He took a moment to look around while wiping his glistening forehead.
I don't see anything. Look, do either of you have a cell phone that's working?
It seemed that this person genuinely knew nothing about what had just happened, nor did he seem interested.
Cell phone?
He asked again, more insistently.
Or Pokegear?
Marina finally looked away from the crystal-clear pond and checked the watch-like device around her left wrist.
I've got no signal here,
she responded with an apologetic look at the new boy.
Why? Who do you need to call? My dad. Or my mentor. Team Rocket's in here!
He burst out with sudden insistence.
I don't know why, but I saw one of them further back there!
Gold tensed. He knew that they were still around, but the reminder was ill news all the same.
What were his features like? He asked grimly. Did he have green-dyed hair by chance? Possibly a wig? I don't know. I only saw the clothing. Team Rocket, said Marina angrily. I'd bet my badge case it's the Pokemon on the water that they're after. We'll have to look out for them, too, if we don't find Jinichi first.
The boy again looked uncertain at her comment about the water creature, but he pressed on regardless.
Whatever their plan, the guy I left wasn't doing so well. He was all by himself against some wild bug Pokemon, and they've become vicious.
Kneeling down, the boy picked distractedly at some leaves that had stuck to his legs below the knees.
I wouldn't put it past Team Rocket to leave stragglers behind, rather than lose their objective. I didn't want to get jumped by bugs or rockets, so I booked it this way as fast as I could. We could get back to Azalea safely if we all stuck together,
he said, ending his sentence in a question of invitation.
That's not an option for us, replied Marina resolutely. We came here looking for a friend, and if he's in danger, it's all the more reason to hurry.
She recalled Croconaw into its Pokeball and looked ready to run again when Gold held up a hand.
1 second.
He looked back at the forest boy and his two Farfetch'd.
Our friend has light brown hair and wore a green shirt, he said. Have you seen someone like that?
The other trainer only shook his head.
Sorry, I gotta go. Come on, Gold,
Marina called, already far ahead. Gold nodded and passed the stranger through the path cut by his Pokémon. He was soon glad for the rejuvenation that the water entity had given him, for the second race proved harder. About a minute into their run, Gold and Marina felt something invisible wrap over their legs. It wasn't enough to trip either of them, but the stringy substance stretched and put up resistance wherever their strides widened. "It's some kind of webbing," Gold realized. "Marina, do you have any Pokémon that can deal with this?" Marina gave a small scream of surprise and jumped to the side, out of the way of something Gold couldn't see. "No time!" she called back. "Something in the trees is shooting needles at us!" Gold set his teeth and forced himself to run, despite the sticky webbing. Once more, his breathing became labored, and his chest hurt, but the subtle swishes in the surrounding air drove him on. Unseen missiles whizzed past him, missing by inches. He had no doubt that the pins would connect with a stationary target, and if they were poisoned, he didn't want to think about it. He chased Marina's fleeing form, and from the noise of erratic breaths she exhaled, it was obvious to him that they could not run forever. "Next clearing!" he called between gasps. "When we're out of range for most trees, we'll need to stop and fight if we have to!" Marina didn't answer, but Gold knew she had heard him. Presently, they burst into an opening where there were many stumps where trees had once stood. Gold threw himself onto one of the larger stumps, and breathing wildly through his mouth, tore at the stringy substance at his legs. Marina, holding a hand to her ribs, tossed a Pokeball with her other hand. "Pink-chan!" she gasped. "Roll out!" From the ball burst a Pokemon that looked to Gold like a pink balloon with stubby arms and legs. It curled into a ball and began spinning in circles, slowly at first, but wider and faster as it went. Gold saw that Marina hadn't acted a moment too soon. From the surrounding woodlands crawled a writhing mass of Weedle, Caterpie, and even the parasite Pokemon, Paras. Behind them, hanging from the trees but unable to advance, hordes of Kakuna glowered at the humans. Marina's Pokemon whirled around and around until the vanguard of the bugs advanced too closely. Then it rolled right over them, squashing their tender bodies in its wake. For a short time, the approach of the aggressive insects halted. Marina bent to pull the webbing off her upper legs, and Gold assisted her in tearing the substance by her ankles. When the two of them had looked back up, the pink Pokemon's coloration had changed by an alarming degree, from flesh-colored to a sickly pale green. Gold soon saw why. For every worm with a stinger it rolled over, Marina's Pokemon was injected with poison. By now, it had been struck a few dozen times. In spite of the suffering, however, it kept rolling, flattening ever more insects that threatened its trainer. How noble, Gold thought, for even as he looked on in worry, he couldn't help but admire the act of self-sacrifice. Now this is a true show of merit, rather than a petty gym badge. He was just starting to wonder what to do once Marina ran out of Pokemon, when the whole mass of bugs rolled suddenly backwards. Nothing seemed to have physically hit them, nor was there any wind to be felt, but it was like they had been tossed by an invisible tidal wave. They now lay lumped together in a single wall of flesh, chittering angrily but weakly. Gold stared ahead, dumbfounded, and Marina retained only enough wit to recall her sickened Pokemon.